It was a couple days of boringness. Nothing special happened, and I felt like I was dying from boredom. I had no clue when the fair was beginning. My parents knew the date and time when the fair was opening, but they were keeping it a secret. I have no clue why. I'd love to write about things that happened during this period, but nothing was notable, so I think it would be a waste of ink to write about essentially nothing. On a Friday, I think on the 14th of June, my dad came into my room when I was in the middle of playing a game. He told me to get ready for the fair. That was an incredibly sudden announcement. When are we leaving? I asked. 15 minutes, my dad replied. Get ready now, or else you aren't going to the fair. Oh my goodness, 15 minutes wasn't enough time to get ready. I rushed to turn off my game console, nearly slipping on a dirty sock on my floor. I rushed to get in the bathroom with my clothes to change out of my pajamas and brush my teeth. With only a couple minutes left before my dad left me behind at the house, I rushed downstairs and jumped into the car that was parked just in front of the house. My mom was already in the passenger seat of the car. My dad was in the driver's seat. Are you guys ready? My dad asked, one hand on the steering wheel and another hand on my mom's shoulder. Yes, I dully replied. My dad put his foot on the pedal and reared out of the neighborhood at full speed. It was a fairly windy yet warm day. The trees were swaying elegantly in the wind. It was overall a nice day for going to the fair. And before I knew it, I was at the fair. I looked at the fairgrounds, which was just an empty grass pasture a couple days ago, filled with a now complete Ferris wheel and many fun rides. All right, we're here, Leo, my dad said, stopping the engine of the car. I looked outside of the window into the fair. It looked absolutely incredible. Are you guys going to the fair with me today? I asked. We would, but we need to do some shopping, my dad replied. That was a bummer. I might be going alone, which wouldn't be very amusing for me, and ironic since I'm at an amusement park. I used to go here all the time with my friends back when I was a teenager, said my mom. Some real sentimental feelings just looking at everything from this car. Me too, my dad said. And Leo, before you go... No, my mom intervened. I'll give him the money. My mom dug through her purse, pulling out 3 $10 bills and a couple quarters and dimes. She handed them to me before I left the car. I completely forgot that I needed money for the fair, so having about $30 in my pocket gave me a sense of assurance when I was hungry and wanted to dig into the delicious food at the fair. I thanked her with a smile before closing the car door. My dad pulled out of the parking lot, driving away into the distance. I turned around and looked ahead. The fair looked so magnificent. Hundreds of people were lined up in front of the fair, getting tickets to enter. I got myself lined up in the line with the least amount of people and waited. I think it was about 45 minutes, or possibly longer, of waiting before something incredible happened. Somebody tapped on my shoulder, and that somebody was Joshua. Josh, I exclaimed. How long have you been here? Joshua asked, a slight frown appearing on his face. I shrugged my shoulders. When did you get here? I asked. Like 5 minutes ago or so, Joshua said. Adeline and Christopher are here if you want to see them. My face glowed up almost immediately when I heard that. I was going to stick to where I was in the line because I didn't want to wait an eternity to get tickets, which is exactly what I told Joshua. He waved goodbye before he traveled to the back of the line. We all agreed on meeting in the midway section once Adeline, Christopher, and Joshua all got their tickets. I continued waiting in line. Multiple people recognized me and kept saying things such as, "Are you Leo?" and "Hi, can I get your autograph?" I truly felt famous, which is a strange feeling. Not many people ever get to experience fame, but I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the many people walking up to me and creating small talk, helped reduce the burden of waiting in line to get a ticket. Waiting in that line was tough, but I finally got to the front of the line. The receptionist appeared to be a young guy in his early 20s. He looked sleep-deprived since dark eyebrows hovered below his eyes, or eye bags hovered below his eyes. The booth he was in was painted in black. The large gate acted as the main entrance to the fair, which was coated in red and white paint, and adjacent to the booth that was just in front of me. Excuse me, what is your age?" asked the receptionist timidly. "I'm 13, sir," I replied with tenacity. "Okay," muttered the receptionist, writing on a piece of paper swiftly. "And are you going with a parent or guardian?" "No, I'm going by myself," I replied. "All right, you have to take this ticket over here," the receptionist replied in a dull voice as his index finger pointed to a pile of tickets that had the word minor printed in black ink on it. "And the ticket will be $10.58, continued the receptionist. Took a $10 bill out of my pocket, as well as 2 quarters and a dime, and handed the money to him. "Do you want the extra change?" the receptionist asked. I shook my head. He continued tinkering with the cash register before handing over the ticket. All right, have a good time at the Greenfield Fair," said the receptionist in his most excited voice that still came out dull and monotone-like. I walked into the fair eagerly. Using my ticket, I verified myself and was admitted inside. I went to throw out my ticket because I didn't need it anymore and went to sit down at the table in the midway section of the fair. I remembered all those amazing memories from last year's fair and the lunch Mayor Xavier served at these exact tables only a couple days ago. Weirdly enough, even though this place was mostly a grassy pasture only a few days ago, the midway section looked basically the same from then to now. Regardless, though, everything was back. The bustling restaurant booths, the insane rides, it was all amazing and all here. The Ferris wheel looked better than ever, and I couldn't wait to try out my favorite ride of them all, the bumper cars. After an hour of sitting down at the table and getting myself some food at one of the nearby booths, I finally saw Adeline, Christopher, and Joshua at the entrance walking in leisurely. I was so happy that they were here. I thought they had forgotten about me. I rushed over to the three of them. "Finally, you're here," I exclaimed. "What took you all so long?" "If you used your brain, you could figure out that we were in an incredibly long line," replied Adeline with a smirk. "Let's head to the tables." She manages to take me off almost every time I see her. I know it gets repetitive reading about me saying that about her, but sometimes I can't contain myself. Anyways, we all headed to a table to sit down. Joshua looked exhausted while Adeline and Christopher were gleeful. Adeline was wearing a dress and Christopher was dressed in his normal summer wear, including a baseball cap. "Anyone want to get some food?" Christopher asked as he pulled out some money from his pocket. I'll go with you guys. I'll go with you," Adeline said. "You guys can get food. I already ate," I replied. Joshua had his head down on the table. I think he was sleeping. Christopher turned his gaze to me. "Come on, we're just getting a few burgers," Christopher said. His expression turned to more of a pleading version of his normal one. "Can't you tell I'm full?" I said in an angry tone. Right after I said that, a massive gust of wind swooped through it and made Christopher's baseball cap fly across the fairgrounds. I laughed. "Darn it," he yelled as he took off trying to get it. Adeline took off with him, leaving me and Joshua alone. They were running through the entire midway section and eventually disappearing into the crowds. I was happy about that. "Well, those two are gone now," said Joshua, lifting his face up, revealing a sunburn. "Josh, your face looks like a tomato right now. Are you sunburned?" I asked in a worried tone. "Maybe that was the burning sensation that I was feeling on my face earlier," Joshua murmured, rubbing his face. "Are you sure you'll be okay?" I babbled, not noticing how loud my tone of voice was. "Yeah, this isn't the first time I've gotten sunburned, replied Joshua firmly. "But there's one thing I gotta talk to you about once Christopher gets back." "What's it about?" I asked. "Somebody special?" Joshua replied. It was around a couple minutes of silence, well, except for the relentless wind and crowds before Adeline and Christopher returned. They were all out of breath. "I thought that the wind couldn't take my hat off," Christopher sighed. I teased Christopher about his hat for a bit before Joshua told us all to shut up and let him speak. "Chris," Joshua started, "tell Leo what happened to you." Christopher paused for a few seconds before he spoke. "So, apparently Mr. Franklin didn't commit suicide or any of these dumb rumors. He instead was sent to the county jail and broke out of the jail," Christopher said. Mr. Franklin broke out of the county jail?" "Continue, Chris," Joshua murmured, his eyes narrowing. Christopher stared blankly at me. "We should be careful because Mr. Franklin is out there, and supposedly he's out for blood." Christopher finished. Whoa, I began. "So, let me get this all straight. Mr. Franklin broke out of the county jail and he's out for blood?" "Yes, Leo," Christopher said. "Did you see the news report about it yet?" "News report? There was one regarding the situation? I need to read this immediately." "Do you have the news report?" I asked Christopher. "Psst, Leo," Joshua whispered in my ear. I turned my attention towards him. He was leaning close to my ear. "We need to talk in a secluded area." I was getting a bit confused, but was getting curious about all this news I needed to catch up on. I was so far behind in all of this crap. "Where are we going? Or where are we going to go?" I asked Joshua in a whispering voice. He stood up and started walking somewhere. I followed behind.